to take you guys through the pairs that I have listed on the screen, and we're just going to go through possible trade setups for this week to come. So let's just get right into this. Looking at NZD JPY on the daily, this is a trade that I'm currently in as we're speaking. I did set up a new forex.com account. I put 3,000 in, and we're risking 3% per trade. So in this trade, risking 3% or stop loss. If the price were to come all the way down and hit the stop loss, it would be $90 of loss. And then if price were to hit the take profit, it would be over about $90. So now why did I get into this trade? Essentially, the reason being is just because if you look at the most recent price data, the market is clearly heading upwards. It's kind of hard to miss. Not only that, we broke resistance and we have been retesting it as support. And I was able to connect this little trend line here, so I have that as a little extra confluence. And the reason for entry is just simply because price came deep within the zone and then simply bounced away. And you can also go into the lower time frames to get like your entry. So if you come onto the 4 hour and you enter after this bullish engulfing candle, that works as well. You could do that. My entries aren't anything specific. I just enter in whenever I believe price looks like that it's bouncing and going to continue the overall trend. So that's NZD-JPY that I'm currently in right now. AUD-CAD, again, on the daily time frame. Recent market structure, clearly heading upwards. Kind of like NZD-JPY, we have a support zone, and then we have this trend line here. Now, if I go into the 4 hour, this is where I'm probably going to be looking for my entries. What I want price to do is kind of to push into this yellow zone a bit and maybe touch this trend line. If we pull back into this yellow zone deep enough and price starts to bounce away, then I will take my long entry and get into a trade stop loss somewhere below the zone, maybe down here, and then my take profit at least at a 1-to-1, and that would be my full trade setup. But until then, I'm just going to wait until price pushes deeper into the zone before looking for any type of buys. GU. What do we have on GU? Pretty simple. Obviously, we're heading upwards. Price did somewhat break above this resistance zone. Some people say this could just be a spike past the zone to then continue down, and they could be right. They could be right about that. But the way I'm looking at it, we're heading upwards on the daily. I would consider this as a break of resistance and retesting as support. It's kind of almost retesting the trendline area again. I'll be looking for entries on the 4 hour. So if price, like I've said before, starts to trickle back upwards, I will then look to take buys going up and have a risk reward of at least a 1-to-1. Until then, I'm just going to stay out of this trade and wait for more confirmation to make me hop in. USD JPY, nothing too much on the daily, although we did have price bounce at this support and going back up, which if anyone caught buys right here, you would be in pretty good profits right now. If you didn't catch it, nothing to be worried about. You could catch another buy on the 4 hour and or the 1 hour if price starts to retrace back into the zone and pulls into the zone deep enough to then look for buys. You could do that as well. But until then, there's no reason for me to be inside this trade at all. I just don't see any good buy opportunities at this current moment. CAD JPY is kind of the same thing. If you caught buys in the support zone, you would be in profit, but you can also catch buys if price does retrace into this H4 support zone. You could catch buys in there if it even comes back. I don't know if it will. I have no idea what the market is going to do. My job is to just simply wait until a setup occurs, and then if it's convincing enough, then I'll enter. If not, then I won't. As you see, my trading system really isn't complicated. It's not black and white. There's a lot of experience and intuitiveness that goes into my trading, which, if you're new to trading, this might just seem extremely confusing, which I don't blame you. I was extremely confused at first when I started trading as well, and I didn't know any of this when I first started. This has taken me years to really understand. And we don't even need these zones on the bottom or at the top. I just have them marked up just because that's what I want to have marked up. You don't even need them. The most current zones that are recent is just this one right here. Price is clearly heading up in this recent market structure, and we have a resistance turned into support, which price bounced off at. You could have gotten in after this candle right here, had your stop loss somewhere below the support, and then your take profit at least a 1-to-1, which this would be just above the recent high, so you'd be targeting a new higher high. And if you did take this trade, congratulations, you should be in profits. So that's Euro JPY. Nothing too convincing on EuroCAD from the daily perspective. On the daily, it's a bit confusing, I'm going to be honest. And even going into the 4-hour, like, sure, recently this was going up. But at the same time, we're kind of just ranging within this area, so I don't really know what price is going to do from here. We could just keep ranging, right? We could just keep ranging, or we could break up to the upside and continue to go up. Or another option could be we could just break out of the downside of this range and then continue to push lower, continuing down. I don't know what's going to happen, so therefore, I am not even going to be looking at this pair because it's not clear enough. Daily. I don't know why I have this zone so huge, but I do. I guess you can just make the zone a bit smaller. Well, that looks a bit better. On the daily, this doesn't exactly look the clearest to me. If I had to just guess, I would rather take not buys. I'd rather take sells than buys. But who knows? You could take buys and it could work out. I'm not saying that it won't. I'm not too sure. On the 4-hour perspective, we broke this support and retesting it as resistance. And even going into the 1-hour, this pair is just kind of confusing to me. I'm not too sure which direction this is going to go in. Therefore, I'm just going to stay out. But if you want to take sells, that's absolutely fine. You could take sells from here. I'm not saying that it's going to work, but you could. It just depends on how you trade. I'd rather not trade this, though, to be honest. GBP NZD. Now, this is a bit interesting, right? We have this resistance zone here. We also have somewhat of this is a head and shoulders pattern. And this resistance has been tested plenty of times. And the more times a support and or resistance zone gets tested, the less strong it becomes, or it becomes less valuable of a zone. So I'm kind of expecting this zone just to get absolutely destroyed, and I'm going to assume that price will break above this zone. And if that does happen, if price breaks above this resistance and it comes back down to retest as a support zone, I will then look for possible buys to take this back up and ride the current trend. Until then, I'm not too sure what's going to happen. This could easily just crash all the way back down into here. Now, if you're a range trader, you probably love this condition that it's in, and you might be looking for sells. Like I've been saying, that could work. But from my perspective, I think price could just break past the zone and retest as support to continue up. So that's what I'm going to be waiting for on GBP NZD. Euro USD, what do we have? Recently, price was heading up. Price came down into a support zone. Price bounced away and people made money. And people also lost money in that process of these price movements. That's on the daily. Going into the 4-hour, we have this support zone. It's, kind of interesting, but there it is, a support zone. You could take buys. I might be taking buys. I'm not too sure. If price stalls out and looks and continues to go bullish, I might take buys, but I'm not too sure. I don't exactly like how price action looks on this pair. This one's just a bit iffy for me. I might be taking it though. I'm not too sure. This does look good though. Like, I would rather take buys than sells for sure. GBP JPY, obviously this pair is going up. You cannot deny that. If you say price is heading downwards, I'm sorry, you need new eyes. What we have recently is a break above resistance and price retesting as support, and we did bounce away. We did. The issue with this, yes, you could have taken buys right here. You could have. That's perfectly okay. I have not. I like when price pulls deep within a support or resistance zone and then starts to bounce. I don't like when price just barely gets into the zone and then bounce. I want price to fully come into the zone and then start to bounce. So therefore, if price starts to come back down into the zone, right, and then we stall out possibly and trickle back up, that will be my indication to get into buys and possibly make money. Until then, just going to stay out and wait. AUDUSD. A bit interesting, not from the daily perspective at least. If you zoom out, overall trend, down. I know that. That's fine. More recent structure, because that's what I base my trades off from, is the most recent structure. We have this here. Price was heading down, but we broke out of this resistance and now retesting it as support. My entry could be from off the 4-hour, and this could be a divergence here if price shoots down a bit more, but I don't believe I'll be taking any buys. I think what I'll do is I'll mark this resistance zone up, and whenever price breaks above and retests, that's probably when I'll look for buys. If not, then I will wait for price to break this support, retest as resistance to then continue down. I'm not too sure what's going to happen, so I'm just going to stay out of this trade that I'm in, or that I'm not in. Sorry, I'm not in this trade. I'm just going to wait. Did not take that. This is AUD JPY on the daily. not too much here going on. We do have this resistance, so therefore it breaks above retest and bounce. You can get in for buys. On the 4-hour, nothing too clear. We did have this resistance. You could have had sells there. I don't think I took those sells at all, but yeah, I'm not too sure. This is kind of ranging now, so I'm not entirely. A lot of these pairs this week aren't looking the best. There's only a few pairs that I'm really looking at to trade. This one actually looks pretty good. USD CHF from the daily. We're obviously heading upwards, and price is currently sitting at this resistance, looking like it's going to break above. And like I said, like I've been saying, if that happens, wait for the retrace to then head back up. And even if it doesn't retest here, we still have this whole area price can pull into to then continue to look for buys, right? So if price doesn't retest here and continues to push lower, my second option for buys is right here at this support level. So either way, I'll be looking for buys. Even from the 4-hour, you can look for buys, right? Even off this zone here, that could be an option for some people to take buys off from. So USD CHF is actually looking pretty good. I'm going to mark that up. Euro NZD. Interesting. Yes. So we do have this major resistance here that we're kind of just sitting at from the daily perspective. Lowering into the 4-hour. I guess you could. All right. If price comes and retraces back into here, I guess you could take buys from that. I'm not going to. I don't. This doesn't look like a clear zone to me at all. So, kind of just going to wait for price to just break above the zone and then retest and see what happens. But I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. GBP CAD. Looks like price has already broken above this resistance and is kind of retesting a support. Going into the 4-hour, we actually have this support zone here as well. The only thing I don't like is that, yes, we have this support zone here, and from the daily, and price has already tried to bounce once, twice, 3, 4, and it's just kind of just sitting at the support zone. Not only that, but like it's kind of making bearish market structure on the lower time frames as well. So that's not really looking too good for buys currently, at least from the 4-hour. I'm not like this could still work out for buys. It could. I'm not saying that it won't work out at all. This could still just go up. From the daily perspective, it looks better. But I don't think I'll be taking any buys, to be honest with you. I don't think I will be at all. Euro GBP on the daily. This is definitely heading down. We did make a double bottom though. We have the support zone here and price is holding. So I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, to be honest. Maybe if you take trades off the 15-minute, since we know that we're going down from the daily and H4, you could take sells from the 15-minute. So we do have this resistance here. Price broke the support. So if price retraces back up into the zone and gives you clear confirmation of it bouncing away, sure, by all means, you could take sells. And I even might, if it looks good enough. So we'll keep that on the radar. NZD USD. Yeah, see, we're just ranging. There's nothing too clear. Nothing too clear. Maybe on the lower time frames you can look for sells for sure. but no, I don't know. I'm just gonna stay out. And then our last pair is NZD CAD. Previously, price heading down, we broke out of this trend line and also out of that resistance, turned into support, and price even bounced away. And if you entered this trade for longs down here, you probably would have won. But we haven't made any new highs, and we kind of just bounced off from this resistance. So now we're kind of stuck in this range. And when we're in a range, I don't know what's going to happen. Price could just come back in here, bounce up, come back up here, bounce down. If you're a range trader, this is your ideal environment, but I do more uptrend trading. So I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. I could look for buys down in this area to then just continue to trade with the trend, but I don't know what's going to happen. I would need some really clear evidence on price wanting to bounce from this support zone. But yeah, no, that's pretty much all the trades or all the possible trades that I'm looking at. The only trade that I'm in for this week right now is NZD JPY from the daily, and it's just a simple break and retest of the zone with price bouncing away. We're in a little bit of drawdown currently. That's okay. I still believe price will ultimately go up and hit my stake profit. But if not, if that doesn't happen, this whited dot line is where I will then look to exit the trade to just manage my risk. So instead of me taking a full stop out, I will look to close the trade once this alert goes off, just to manage my risk and to get out of the trade early. So that's it for this week. I will update you guys whenever this trade fully plays out, whether it hits stop loss, take profit, or if I close early. Whatever happens, I will update you all and let you know what happens. And I hope you all have a great trading week and go out there and make some profits.